are closely following up on all stories of national interest on this platform. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari meets with cabinet members to find lasting solution to the current state of the economy in Nigeria, as he promises the recession will soon be over. The team has reviewed its economic strategy with a promise to pump about, check it, 350 billion naira into the economy. Also on our headline this week, 3 major airlines in Nigeria suspended their flight operations over expenses. Today, one of those airlines, that's Arik Air, has now resumed its local and international flight operations. And the Anti-Corruption Agency in Nigeria has allegedly linked 4 companies with former First Lady Dame Patience Jonathan of a fraud running into millions of dollars in a fraud charge brought against them before a federal high court sitting in Lagos. Data feeds coming through, as you can see here, in one place simultaneously on all social media platforms. You can be part of the show. Tweet at me at KAY Otherwise, use the hashtag State of the Nation to be a part of the conversation. It's prime time in Lagos, and this is State of the Nation. Very many thanks for staying with us. You're watching State of the Nation, and we begin straight away with the issues in the aviation sector. Now, an overview of the aviation sector right now. That sector is equally not spared from the impact of the current recession, and we have seen a number of airlines suspending their operations. No doubt this means job losses, at least on one hand, and the ripple effect of that alone is not negligible. To take that conversation forward, I've got right here in the studio an aviation analyst, Mr. Wale Shadari. Thank you very much for joining us on State of the Nation.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, the first question I'm going to ask you, the federal government has indicated interest. They actually said that it's going to have some concession on 4 of the major airports that we have in the country. And many of the workers in that industry have said they're not happy with it. What's your take?
I think we've delayed this for a very long time. Concession, as far as I'm concerned, is the best for the aviation industry. And I keep on saying it, that government does not have business in business. And just last week, the Minister of Aviation, the Minister of State for Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika, differentiated and gave us reason why the government was going ahead to concession, not privatization, because they are 2 different things.
Can you explain what's the difference between them?
Privatization is, when you look at it, is inviting people, is like selling outright to private people. But concession is, call experts to come and manage the airport, maybe for 10 or 20 years, and it will revert to the government, and the government can always get it anytime they want to do.
Okay, but look at it, 3 airlines in a matter of days. How did we get here?
I think what happened was self-inflicted. We prepared the ground for what has happened to these airlines, and if you look at it, airline business is highly capital intensive. The airlines make their revenue in naira, but they get their spare, and everything they do in dollars is highly dollarized. So we prepare the ground for whatever is happening now. And if you look at the case of the oldest airline, I don't know if I'm permitted to call the airline, Aero Contractor. Aero had a lot of problems before now. This is just the manifestation of that problem that has led to what has happened to it. But the government said they will pump in more money and see how they can revive Aero. But it's a big problem. We have a big problem on our hand, because if this could happen to Aero, no airline is safe. Look at what happened to Arik 2-3 days ago. But Arik, thank God, they've gotten over the problem and they are back in operation. But the problems are still there, and if care is not taken, more airlines will be out of operation before the end of this year.
Sadly, as a result of, whether we want to call it the impact of the recession or even the concession, jobs definitely would be lost. We almost cannot afford that possibility. Yeah. But what is the best way that we can reduce casualty?
I think the best thing government can do is to assist the airlines. If we have startup airlines, federal government can give them tax holiday and say for 3-4 years, we exempt you from paying certain amount of money. For 3 years, you're not going to pay anything so that you can come up and do your operation the way it should be done. Again, government needs to exempt them from so many taxes. We have a lot of charges. We have a lot of things that they charge these airlines for. You talk about security charges. You talk about high charges from Nigeria Airspace Management Agency. This has posed a lot of problem for the airlines. So I think government can sit down with these airlines and say, okay, try to know their problem. Thank God a stakeholders meeting is coming up next week where these issues, I believe, should be discussed. But the government has done something fantastic by saying, okay, we want to exempt you from duties. If you bring in your aircraft, you're not going to pay duties. If you bring in your spare part, you're not going to pay duty. I think that's a positive one from the federal government. But the federal government needs to go beyond that to see how they can help airlines in Nigeria. Because if you look at airlines, they employ a lot of people. They employ a lot of Nigerians. Not even Nigeria. We have expatriates they also employ. If an airline goes down today, about 1,000 jobs will be lost. The same thing has happened to Aero until Aero comes back. So those 1,400, 200 workers may be thrown out of job if government does not come in to assist this airline. But I don't know how government is going to do that, because if you look at the liabilities of Aero, I think what they have as liabilities far exceed what they have as assets. So I don't know how government will continue to pump in money to a venture that is has gone awry.
Yeah, that brings me to what government itself is grappling with. Government is battered on all fronts. We're talking about security. We're talking about the economy, aviation, and in some industries as well. Now, government is battling with these many things. Now, the United Nations says that it is coming into the country. They announced that yesterday, and they said that they're going to establish 2 training schools in Nigeria on aviation security. How do you see this partnership working out in such a way that it dovetails into the situation that we are in?
I think I should congratulate the federal government for trying to go into partnership with the United Nations, and I feel the United Nations has done that because they've seen what the government has done within security in the Northeast, and they felt that, okay, they have to assist the federal government more to combat terror. And if you look at aviation, if you do not have security at your airports from time to time, it could lead to a lot of problems. Look at what happened in Turkey.
Mr. Shadari, allow me to cut in right now. We need to take a break. I have been speaking with an aviation expert who's been talking about the issues arising from the aviation sector. We'll take a break right now. When we come back, we'll continue that conversation with Mr. Shadari. Stay with us.